Welcome to the Exact Digital Podcast, the show where we dive into how digital marketing agencies are using paid media to drive real growth for their clients and for themselves. From planning to ROI and everything in between, we uncover the strategies, stories, and systems that set agencies apart. Each episode, we'll talk with agency leaders who are innovating with paid media, scaling their businesses, and delivering results that matter. Whether you're looking to expand your services or sharpen the edge of your current offerings, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Exact Digital Podcast, where we talk with marketing leaders, agency founders, and growth-minded innovators about the ideas and strategies shaping modern marketing. Today, I'm excited to welcome Jen Dewar, founder of Jalydew. Jen specializes in helping tech companies build and optimize their lead generation strategies. And she's spent years working across startups and growing businesses to drive real, measurable results. Welcome to the show, Jen. Can you just share a little bit more about what you do and what your team does at Jalydew?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks for having me on. So I work with mostly HR tech companies on their lead generation, demand generation side, helping them build brand awareness, get more leads into their pipeline, and then convert and retain those customers long term.
That's awesome. What led you to focus specifically on demand generation for HR tech companies? How did that get started?
So the demand gen piece, I've always really enjoyed. It feels kind of like a puzzle to me to figure out, what levers I can move and what tactics I can use and what strategies I can implement to increase pipeline. And then the HR tech piece just kind of fell into it. I think like so many people do. I was working at a few startups early in my career and really enjoyed the people side of things. And what I find really fulfilling about working with HR tech companies is that work is such a big part of people's lives. And to be on the side of technology that helps people match with their careers is personally fulfilling to me to, be a big part of somebody's life in that way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know you mentioned that focus on demand generation. So how do you define that for someone who doesn't know what that is?
Yeah, it's interesting. I work with a lot of people that don't exactly know how to define demand generation. So I'd really say demand gen is building the brand awareness in the market and helping people become aware of your solutions and how they can help solve their pain points in their day to day lives. So a lot of the demand generation is getting the products in front of the target audience in a variety of ways to help them understand that there are solutions to their issues and hope that they seek out my clients to help solve those problems.
Yeah. Well, and I know when we spoke earlier, it sounds like you can plug in differently depending on the client, and sometimes you're running full programs, sometimes just a piece. How do you determine where you can make the biggest impact for your clients?
Well, that's a good question. For the most part, I'd say it just really depends on what stage the company is in. So if I'm working with a very early stage company that doesn't have a marketing team at all, I'll typically work with the CEO. And we do a lot of different programs to see what's working for their specific business. I'm always a big fan of content marketing as one of my go-to steps. Um, but then I also find that I have companies that I work with that are much later stage startups and they have some marketing teams. So sometimes I'll plug in to help with just the content marketing side or just their social media or just their advertising, and just become like an integral part of their team to where, if somebody's out on maternity leave or somebody gives 2 weeks notice, I can fill in the gaps for them as needed.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
that's really key, I think, being able to be flexible. What are some of the biggest challenges you see right now with, the HR tech companies that you're working with when it comes to marketing and growth right now?
I imagine it's almost across the board. Everybody's trying to grapple with AI optimization right now, trying to figure out how to do it, what results they can expect to see, how to get shown. And then I also find a big thing right now is with search marketing. We see that there's a really big disruption in the market with AI overviews coming in. So a lot of companies are seeing less traffic to their websites, which may or may not correlate with fewer leads. So I think everybody's just trying to figure out like how those two things are going to keep building off of each other or taking traffic from each other. Will AI take over search? Will they both coexist? And what
Yeah.
can we do right now to set ourselves up for success?
Yeah, I know that topic of AI, just you cannot escape it right now. It's definitely kind of front and center, and definitely not something we need to be afraid of, but like you said, how do we integrate? How do we adapt? How do we set ourselves apart now for the future? So I love that you're kind of getting ahead of that with your clients. Um, you do a lot across content, SEO, email, and paid. How do you think tying all of those things together into a cohesive demand generation strategy? Like, how do you go about doing that?
So I'm really big on the content marketing side. So that's usually like kind of the hub of my strategy. And so when
Yeah.
I think about content, I think about optimizing it for search engines so that people can find it. I think about promoting it on email so that it can nurture leads and push people further down the sales funnel until they're ready to purchase. It's a really great tool for staying top of mind. And then when I think about paid, there's so many great opportunities to use paid media to also promote your content. But then there's kind of the other side of it too, where, if we're thinking this is more bottom of the funnel content marketing, I feel like there's also a really great opportunity to leverage email and paid and SEO and other channels for more top or like bottom of the funnel leads as well as top of the funnel. So being able to get people that are actually ready to buy something right now. And that's where, we deviate a little bit from the content marketing strategies. And we have kind of a lot of different programs looking at a lot of different angles on the demand gen funnel.
That's great. You talked about your deep experience with the HR tech, and that's kind of the big differentiator from you versus, say, a general marketer. How does that show up in the work that you're doing for your clients? Like, how do you take that past experience?
I've found that it really gives me kind of a head start with new clients where I understand their buyer, I understand their pain points, I understand the things that they're looking for in a product. And so when I start with a new HR tech client, it lets me hit the ground running a little bit more than a consultant that's not, that doesn't have that same deep industry experience.
Yeah. I love one of the things you mentioned was that your business has grown largely through referrals. How has that shaped the way that you approach your work and your client relationships? I think that's a pretty important part.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great thing, and it's also a scary thing to have so much of your business come from referrals. I think in a lot of ways, it feels very much out of your control. So the ways that I kind of mitigate that is, by one, making sure that my client relationships are strong. So I always approach my clients with the attitude that like my job is to help you. So, there are ways that I might prefer working, but if it's not your preferred way to work, like tell me what that is and we can make it happen. And then I try and learn from my clients. I learn, what edits they make and what kinds of projects that they're interested in. And I try and integrate those into, sort of what I have in mind for them. And so I think that building those strong client relationships is what makes my referral program so strong is that, nobody stays in a marketing role for more than 2 or 3 years for the most part. So as people move to new opportunities, I'm very lucky that they often try and take me with them. So then, one client becomes two, becomes three, becomes four. And so in that way, you're able to kind of have a little bit of control over your referrals just by making sure that you have good industry relationships.
Yeah. No, that's great. And it says a lot about you and the work that you do that, people trust you. They trust working with you. They've appreciated the work you've done and so they're willing to put their name on it. And that says a lot about you. So um tell me, how do you approach paid media in the business to business space when budgets are tight and targeting really matters?
So paid media when targeting really matters. I'm a really big fan of LinkedIn for my clients in particular. LinkedIn ads have great targeting for B2B. And for the most part, like it's pretty easy to find recruiters and HR people on LinkedIn. But I think the biggest challenge often is just the price point of that targeting. It doesn't come at the same price point as a pay per click model or a pay per impressions model. So I think, you always have to balance that and test things out. I also do a lot of paid email blasts. So that's pretty much like a list rental situation. And so it's kind of about testing different channels and seeing what works and what's driving business. And then, when money is tight, it's all about just making sure that you understand what is happening at the end of that sales funnel. Like, are these people converting? And if so, are they staying on as well?
Yeah. I know it's funny. LinkedIn isn't really that new anymore, but there's always new things coming out, right? And there's like a
Mhm.
platform. So, how do you decide what's actually worth testing for your clients? Like, is it certain level of clients that you're willing to more take a chance on, or how do you decide?
It really depends on the budget. So, because I tend to focus more on the content marketing side, I typically tell my clients that content marketing is a very, very, very long game. It's a year or two before you really start to see results. Whereas advertising, you can just pump that up right away. So, it's all about balancing like, what's the budget? What do you need right now? Like, are you willing to play this long game? Do you need leads now? And so that's kind of where we decide when to use which channels and what to test. And again, based on my industry knowledge, sometimes I have a little bit of a starting off point. Like, I know like this tends to work in this space. Here are the
Right.
types of programs I've been successful with in the past. And here's what I recommend going forward.
Yeah, I guess that's the part about being a little bit hyper focused. You bring so much baseline experience and working with different clients in the same industry. Um, so, with say an HR tech company that's growing but doesn't have a fully built out marketing team yet, what would you say they should prioritize first? I feel like I probably have a good idea of what you would say, but I'd love to hear, is there somewhere someone should start?
Content marketing.
I knew you were gonna say
I
that.
feel I love
That's
content
great.
marketing. I feel like it's such a great
Yeah,
way to build awareness, to get people to your site, to position your company as an expert, to stay top of mind with your buyers. I think for a lot of people, big software purchase is not a decision that they take lightly. So when they're looking at HR tech software, they want to know that this product is going to be around long term, that it's actually the product that's going to solve their pain points. And they put a fair amount of time into researching these solutions and, asking around. So I feel like content marketing is such a great way to first build your awareness that your product exists and then to nurture those potential customers until they're ready to buy. So yeah, I'm always about content, but I do feel that there's always an opportunity to make sure that the rest of the website is kind of what I would call marketing ready. So, I do a fair amount of work in like updating the web pages, especially the more product focused ones, to make sure that any traffic that we do drive to the site is able to convert those visitors into leads. So I do
yeah.
some conversion rate optimization and optimize the pages for search engines, and now we're doing a lot more optimization for AI as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Is there anything you would like to share aside from I know you've got a rebrand coming up yourself. If you want to share any of that, or we could leave that for whatever. But also, yeah, is there anything else that's going on in your space that you'd love to share?
Gosh, yeah, in this space, I think it's just a really exciting time to be in HR tech as we see these major shifts happening with AI. And so it's really exciting to be kind of at the forefront of the people side of things and trying to help people figure out, like, as AI changes, what can you be doing differently in your jobs and what tools are available to you? So some of my clients, for example, are in the learning and development space. And so we can, talk about upskilling and reskilling people that might be at a higher risk of having their jobs more automated. And then we can also talk about, coaching and things like that to help people learn the AI skills that move them forward. So I think it's just a really exciting time to be in the world of work in general. And it's fun to be on the other side of the companies that are kind of helping redefine that space.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for people who are wanting to stay connected or to reach out, is LinkedIn the best place that they can find
LinkedIn's
you?
great. Yep.
Or okay, awesome. So yeah, if you want to stay in contact, check Jen Dewar out at on LinkedIn. And thank you to everyone for checking out today's episode, brought to you by Exact Digital, your dedicated partner in performance-driven paid digital. Let us know how we can help you, and have a wonderful day.